figured out why I've been having such a hard time streaming. So that would be a nice thing if I'd figured that out. The problem is Firefox. I leave it open all the time, and apparently it's got some YouTube-related memory leaks. So if I close Firefox and then reopen it before streaming, it seems like my stream goes much more smoothly, including things like being able to see the screen. Hurrah! Because if I start it up and Firefox is already hogging all my RAM, it doesn't actually show the screen. It can't create the screen capture thingy. I'm streaming #GameDev over at my channel. We're gonna do mostly programming, I think. Alright, so where were we? Trying not to cough directly into the mic. Last time, we left off because we were in the middle of trying to work out a really large part of our program where we have these rule bases and these stress events. Evil Luigi stopped in. Hello, Evil Luigi. Let me know if you can hear me and everything seems to be working right. I'm holding up this notepad like you can see it. Can you see the notepad, everybody? We're working on this rule base, the stress event, and the rules queue. These are the foundation for the events that will happen over the course of the game. Most of these events are going to be related to crew members having stress problems, and there are equivalent of the needs-based issues that crop up in The Sims. Except for ours can't really be avoided. They can just be put off briefly. So we're going to need to understand how those are all going to work out. And basically the rule base is going to handle most of the complexity there. We'll call this the rule events, rule system. Oh, there's a new Twitch design, Evil Luigi? I don't know. If it's the new one that that was new as of 2 months ago, I agree. If there's a new one, it hasn't hit me yet. The only thing I really hate about this one is that if I try and watch it full screen, for some reason the chat box wanders off the right-hand side of the screen and I can't see it anymore, which is really dumb. I also am not a big fan of how it keeps being like, auto host, get 10% host, no matter how many times I dismiss it. It's like, you need to do this. It's like, no, I don't. Go away. Stop telling me to do something I don't care about. Anyway, Evil Luigi says there's a new one. I'm going to hit reload and see what sort of madness has been visited upon us. It's the same. Oh, well, you know what? I'm looking at the dashboard. I bet the dashboard hasn't changed. It's just the live one that's changed. Is it bearable? Because I can look at it like in detail if I need to fix it right now. But if I don't need to fix it right now, I can always just leave it for later. I'll be honest, it looks the same as it did when I last looked at it. Except for it's just posts. What happened to the other widgets I had that told people my Twitter channel and stuff? Is it under info now? No? Oh, it is. Okay. So apparently if I enable posts, it disables my info channel, which is dumb. Also, my channel feed turned on. I don't know what that means. Don't know what the channel feed is, but I do know that I'll need to edit this so that I can take off the posts because those posts are pretty much worthless. How do I disable posts? Am I not allowed to disable posts? Are they all that matters now? Eva Luigi says, I installed a skin with the stylish add-on for Twitch, so it's dark gray and black now, and there's so much purple in there. Yeah. I'm not sure what's going on. I got this message that Keenan the Lemon is auto-hosting me for up to 2 viewers, and I have no idea what that means. Maybe it means that his channel has 2 viewers, or maybe it means that he's expecting 2 viewers from me. If that's the case, I'm afraid I don't think that's going to happen. I rarely get more than 2 viewers myself. Right. Let's go ahead and pop these guys open. So, today our fundamental task is to make it so that our rules unfold in a way that makes sense. We're going to have a lot of prefabs. These prefabs are going to be events, a framework for a specific event. And they're going to come at different tiers and be customizable and moddable. So you'll be able to have all sorts of different events that get added in as you see fit. But for now, the big event that we're going to want to start with is breaking a thing. So that's going to be an event rather than any of these guys. So we'll close these guys down. Doop, 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 doop. And we'll go ahead and open up the stress event. And why do for some reason the solution, okay, I have to double click, whatever. The stress event is what we're going to be using. Now the question becomes, how do we build this stress event? Evaluigi's talking about the new Twitch screen. I don't know much about it. I don't know. Sorry, I can't give you any advice, Evaluigi. You know way more about Twitch than I do, by orders of magnitude. Anyway, the stress event. The question is, how do we frame stress events? These are scriptable objects, right? These are scriptable events. They're not objects. They're not scriptable objects in Unity terms, because those are a different class of object, but they are a script that happens. Now the question is, how do we make that script unfold? One option is to have some kind of scripting language, and we just like type it up, maybe in JSON. Another option is to just have a string of events that fire, and by going through the firing events, we can have the events happen one after the other. The sub-events within this event. So for example, if we were going to break something on the ship, we might have an event which we tell to target the ship parts collection or something similar. The problem is you need to arrange these things such that they call against things that exist. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of work here to work this out. This is kind of exploratory. I didn't plan it out as very much, aside from the basic framework idea. So we're going to have a lot of work to do. And if you have any suggestions about best approaches, feel free to lay them on me, because I'm just doing exploratory stuff here. But if we have a public list Unity event script, what we can do is we can put this into a new object, which we'll just call a basic break event. Drop our stress event onto it. There we are. And you can see that we have this option to create as many of these Unity events as we want, and we can fire them off one after the other. Moreover, we can do some complicated stuff by allowing these Unity events to change characteristics on our stress event. For example, you can easily have it set the index of the stress event to a different number, which allows you to jump to a different position. The problem is, Unity events aren't programmatic. That is, when you execute a Unity event, it just executes all of the watchers on that event and then just goes straight through. So there's no way for us to say, if something, then something, or a 50% chance of something. Everything here is just a flat call if we do it like this. But if we arrange it so that these events happen in a proper manner, in a carefully configured manner, then we can actually allow this to be a programming, a pseudo-programming thing that's suitable for very simple events, which are the sorts we're trying to go for. Now, is this better than having a scripting language? No, but I don't want to have a scripting language. So there's that. This is something where we might have to implement loosely and then go back and change it later. So let's go ahead and explore this idea of trying to make it entirely based around Unity events. And what we'll do is we'll put functions on the basic break event class, which allow it to have a whole bunch of things called against it. So for example, public void break object, or break ship component, break random ship component. Debug.log, break random ship component not implemented. So now what we can do is we can hit plus, we can drop this in, we can tell it to stress event break random ship component, and that's what it'll do. There are other things we can do if we wanted to. We could pass it variables and stuff, but we don't have to. What we need to think about is another option, because there are actually 3 options. I gave you 2, but there are 3. The third option is mix-ins. So the 3 options are a scripting language, a stack of scriptable events, like these, or mix-ins. And we can just have a stress event mix-in of some kind, the same way that we do with ship mix-ins. And it just goes through the mix-ins and executes them all. This has a couple of advantages and a couple of disadvantages. In terms of advantages, it means that we can add in new classes whenever we need to without even understanding what they are. And that's good for modding purposes. So if you were a modder, you could create a new kind of sub-event for these events, and it would just work. You wouldn't have to worry about it, getting integrated properly. That's probably better than the event approach, so that's probably what we should do. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and make ourselves a new category of mix-in called a stress event mix-in. The stress event mix-in is also going to be a delta serializable, because that's kind of the thing. Delta serializer, sorry. Doop. This mix-in will add any number of these mix-ins to a stress event object, and all of them will execute. Feel free to add complexity by having them refer to other mix-ins on child objects or whatever. Keep in mind that these have no knowledge of the state of the universe, so it's necessary for each to grab that info as they execute, i.e. break random ship component needs to find the ship, find the components, and break a random one. Now, the problem with this is that when we break a ship component, we want to base things off of that broken ship component. Ooh, that's not so easy, is it? Let's go ahead and doodle a little bit. Open up our Clip Studio Paint here and pull open a new file. That'll do. There. When things get complicated, you want to stop and make sure you understand what you're trying to build. If you don't understand what you're trying to build, you won't get anywhere. Hello, TechHero95. We're trying to figure out how to build this thing I want to build, so I'm going to doodle it, and you can watch how my brain works if that's of any interest to you, because I don't actually know the best way to build this. So let's go ahead and pull up ourselves a mechanical pencil, and let's start to doodle. So basically, the end result is we have rules. But in order to get to the end result, we need to have events. Now, there are a wide variety of events, such as breaking, something or going I don't know what to call it, berserking, you know, that sort of stuff. There's a lot of different kinds of events that can happen. So what happens is we have events, and then they have a variety of rules. Rule 1, option, rule 2, option. Oh, of course, I'm an idiot. Okay. So these rules aren't really rules as such, because they can be a lot of different things. When they stick around, they become rules, but they can also be one-offs. Tick95 says, what am I building? I'm trying to build the entire event system for things that happen aboard ship, like when people get angry, or when they break something, or when you get hit by a meteorite, and also all of the things you do in response to those things. But all the things you do in response to those things are actually the same. So an event is just the same thing as a bunch of rules. Events. Rules that happen. And rules the player can choose in response. That's easy. Much better. I'm glad I stopped to write that down, because although that was really dumb and obvious and simple once I started writing it down, I was not having an easy time thinking of how that's supposed to work. So, yay me. Let's go ahead and get back to the coding. So we don't have stress event mixins. I'm sorry, you can just go without saving. In fact, the stress event mixin is the rules that already exists. So we're going to go over here to where we have our script, and we're going to switch it over to being a list of rule bases. So let's go ahead and put in some commenting so that we don't lose track of what's going on, because it's a biggie. It's a doozy. These are sub-events that get executed mandatorily when the player executes the event. These are responses the player can make when the event is executed. Keep in mind that all of these rules can link to other rules, and since they are objects that are all on the same thing, that means that we can have a fun time with a web of rules that unfold if we want to make a particularly complex event. For example, if you wanted to build an entire scenario where you were gallivanting around the stars and having like specific characters say specific things and specific enemies show up, that should be possible within this particular kind of setup. So because of that, we need to expand our rule bases into things that are more what we need. I don't need you anymore. And that's good. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and create a folder which we will call rule-based descendants. Well, we don't need to do that. We can put it right here. It's fine. So let's create a new C# script which we will call rule break something. We don't have to call it rule break something though. We can just call it break something. And then over here, when we actually open it, let's not even call it break something. That's a little bit well, for now we'll call it this. The thing is, this is really not very break ship component. This is not really very what do you want to call it? Adaptable. This is basically just one line of code or one function. So if we're going to do something like this, we may want to make it into just a single function that gets called rather than being its own class. It would just be like rule base where the rule calls its own function for that. In fact, let's go ahead and do that right now. Let's go ahead and refactor, rename. We're going to call this a common rule. Rule base, and of course it's going to be in the same namespace. There we are. And we'll go ahead and say common rules just get executed, just have events that get executed and a batch of functions that may prove useful if you want to do things. So because of that, we're just going to have events. So it's funny because this was originally going to be on the stress event itself, but I've moved it off into a specific common rule for a lot of reasons. And one of those reasons is now you can cut and paste these. That'll be nice, and have them affect different rules at different times. And you can also subconnect them. It's very hard to specify which Unity event you want to run, but it's pretty easy to specify which common rule you want to run. Public list Unity event script. And then we're going to need to have something which actually executes rule bases. So public virtual void run debug.log override the basic rules and events class. That shouldn't be a log, it should be a log error. There. So here we're going to override it, override run, and we're going to go ahead and just execute all of our scripts. In fact, we don't, why is it a list of Unity events? It's just a Unity event. Yeah, there we are, that's fine. We just say script dot invoke, and then what we're going to want to do is have a bunch of functions that will be useful. So public void break ship component. There are times when we're going to want to be able to specify how much ship component we want to break. So float economic value, and we'll just say that default of 0 is fine. Debug.log breaking ship component stub. And we're going to want to have other things like public void fix ship component. But the thing here is, how do we wire these? Fixing ship component. How do we wire these together? So if we are going to be fixing a ship component, how do we tell this which ship component to fix? Because this is a prefab. It's off in the middle of nowhere. You spawn it in, and it breaks something. But how does it know what to fix? How does it know how to fix something? Well, the answer is we're going to have the ability to load stuff into a targeting system and then target it, which isn't actually as complicated or weird as it sounds, because it's basically this. So it's public ship component target. And maybe later on we'll do something different with this, but the basic idea here is that you would say fixing ship component plus ship component target dot name. And then up here we would say ship component target. Actually, that's even better. We can just have a public void select ship component float economic value select functioning ship component. And then we would say ship component target equals something. Debug.log load ship component into cache, local cache. And when we break the ship component, we just break the one we've loaded up into cache here. Ship component target dot break. Debug break everything. That's not the best way to do it, but was there a better way? function, fully functional equals 0, right? Set all mix and functionality false. Public void, that's not how you spell that. Public void fix ship component. If ship component target, then do this. Else debug log warning no ship component in cache cannot target to break. And then we say fixing ship component, and we say ship component set all mix functionality true. To fix. So I can already see some issues with this event system, but they're issues that are handled by using different common rules. So for example, one common rule will break the object. When it breaks the object, it contains that ship component target as its cache. So later on, when a different common rule that the player selects fixes that object, we don't tell the second common rule fix object. We tell the second common rule call fix object on the first common rule. This is a little bit iffy. Sounds interesting, but it's a little bit iffy. Not sure I like it. If you guys have any opinions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll continue to try this on for size until I get sick of it. So, oh, we have two of these. We don't need two of these. Just one is fine. So we want to select a functioning ship component with a specific economic value, but we also want the ability to public void select functioning ship component based on cached rule, and then common rule target. And then this will allow us to get a ship component that is compatible. So we say gets a compatibly, that's not how you spell it, is it? Yeah, there it is. Gets a compatibly expensive ship component that works and is the same basic level. Useful for scrapping to fix the first one. So we say if target, if not target, debug.log error cannot try to select a ship based on a cached rule if there's no cached rule. Break. And then we can say if not target dot ship component, or a selected ship component. Yeah. Same thing. Break. No, it's return. Cannot try to select a ship component based on a cached rule if the cached rule doesn't have one. Are you running them in the right order? Otherwise, we'll just select functioning ship component with the economic value of that target. So ship component target dot price. Is price still a thing? It's a quite complicated setup. So we'll go ahead and split this into two here because one of them is going to take a float and one of them is going to take an array of floats. That should work though. All right. Well, that was an interesting thing. We're going to go ahead and see what sort of barfing we're getting. We're not getting any barfing yet. How nice. So here in the basic break event, we've got a couple of things that we want to do. We're going to want to add a common rule to our break event, and we're going to want to tell it to break a random ship component. So we say common rule, select functioning ship component, and we pass it 0 is fine. And then we say common rule break. Where's the break? Break ship component. There we go. Then what we do is we add in an empty prefab inside of it, which is the repair option. And this is a common rule right here, which we can set up as just selecting based on the target. So common rule, select functioning target component based on cached rule, and then pass it this cached rule. And then we're going to tell it to common rule fix ship component. These options probably need a before and after, an if. This is getting complicated. Don't think that this is the right way to do it. On my flow says how big is the galactic line in megabytes. I think right now it's pretty small still, like maybe 150. But I'm not really trying to keep it small, and I'm not really trying to make it big. So whatever it comes out to, it comes out to. We have a big savings right now in that we don't have any textures, really. We just have a couple of textures that we're reusing a lot. But that's not an advantage we're going to have forever. If you follow the link to the itch.io page, you can see how large the download is. That still stands. I haven't made it much larger. But this rule system is not going to function. You know, maybe I would be better off using a rule system that already exists. But the problem is I'd still just basically be doing C#. Should I just hard code the rules? See, the problem is that this has a lot of flaws, and they're going to get more complicated as we get larger. So for example, right now we've got the situation where the basic break event will break a random object, and then it will offer you the option to repair it using another object of the same category, of the same price. But the thing is that this doesn't actually do that. What this says is find another object and repair it, not find another object and then show it to the player as an offer. So we need to have like a pre and a post. I guess we can just have a pre and a post right now. We'll have a pre script. Or would there just be an option rule first? Oh man, I can't think of how this would... Creating an event engine is inherently annoying, which is why it's a major draw. If you look on, you know, YouTube and whatever, you've got engines, especially here in Unity, that you can get to help you with it, like Playmaker and GoFungus and that sort of stuff. But none of them are very suitable for our needs at the moment, and all of them are fairly complex, which is something we don't really want. So functionally what we need is a way to execute rules, and options are different than that because options contain a rule that might execute. So we're going to need another class regardless of what we do later. So let's go ahead and create one. This will be called an option rule. And of course it's going to be the same basic setup. Option rules run a script to determine if they are suitable as options. They contain a reference to another script which gets run when this option is selected. So the question is, how do we set this up? Because what we're doing is we are, it's still a common rule, isn't it? It's just not a common rule that, yeah, it's still a common rule. So we'll go ahead and call it a common rule. So this option here is going to be, it's going to work the same way, except for we're going to have a Boolean which says public bool option ready, or rather option, what should we call it? Functional. We call everything else functional. Functional equals false, and public bool, not even a bool, public rule base run on select. There we are. And public override void, not override, just public void select. Run on select dot run. So the question is, how do we set functional? We're going to need to have a variety of rules for what makes an optional rule functional. And basically, we're going to want to check and see whether or not something has been cached. There's two basic ways of doing that. One is to have a set of functions which checks every possible thing we might have cached, you know, every possible variable that could be cached, and sees whether or not it is cached. Another option is to set that automatically as we try and cache things. I think that's probably the better option. So we're going to go down here to rule base, and we're going to go ahead and have a public bool processing equals false. This is tooltip sets to true if rule has something in memory. So therefore, instead of functional, we can just say processing. So processing will be true if this option is viable. Not bad. So here, when we actually set up these ship component stuffs, we're going to want to set the processing to true when we are loading stuff up. We're also going to have a public void unload memory, which we're probably never going to need, but why not? Ship component target equals null. Or stop processing. Stop processing. Processing equals false. Actually, we can just set processing manually because it's public. There's no reason to make things complicated. I'm going to try and keep things simple, which is hard to do when you're creating something that is supposed to be so flexible. Because basically what we're fundamentally doing is creating a replacement for like a JavaScript scripting system. I don't know that a JavaScript scripting system would be any simpler than this, is the problem. And it's not very flexible to use something like C# because the C# is generally pre-compiled. And if we want to compile it on the fly, just due to creating loads and loads of different little snippets, it's a real pain in the butt. I do know that Unity used to come with its own scripting language, which is called like Boo or Spook or something. But I never really got into it, and all of the scripting languages that I've seen, it always seemed like, why? You have a language and then you have a scripting language on top of the language, but you have to know how to program either way, so... So my goal here is to make it so that you don't really have to know how to program, you just have to know how to select functions from a drop-down list, in theory. So we have our common rules, we have our option rules. Our stress event is going to have an option rules list for its options, as you might have guessed. And we're going to be able to run this script and then run the response options and then invoke them. So public void run we're going to go ahead and say for each rule base rule in script, rule.run, and we say for each option rule in response options, rule.run. And then what we can do is just quickly go through them for int numOpts equals 0. I'll put this up here. If rule.processing numOpts++ debug.log, sorry, ran name player has numOpts response options. We're going to want to go ahead and say public rule base emergency failout. What do I call it? No responses possible rule. Tooltip, this rule is called if there are no viable responses. No, well, there's no need for that, really, is there? Because we can just add a response option that is never false. So that should work okay. Yeah. Debug.log stress event name is running. But the stress event needs to have a lot of values. We're just barely getting into it here. Right now, we in theory can do our job, but we do have to do a little bit more programming here. With our ship component target equal null, we have to replace this with something where we're actually fetching ship component from the ship. So we're going to want to find our parent ship. So that's going to be ship parent ship equals get component in parent ship. And then we say ship dot parts list dot component list dot parent ship dot component list dot find get functional components, get random functional component. True. Load ship component currently ignoring economic values. Processing equals true. There we go. So we now have the ability to select functioning ship components, and we have the ability to break them, and we have the ability to fix the ship components. So in theory, our rule should work, except for the small fact that we can't actually select our option yet. But we'll have to go ahead and plug it in. We're going to plug it all together and see whether or not we can get our event to run when someone stresses out. Now, in order to do that, we need to have stress events located somewhere. We have to be able to find them. There are a couple of possible ways. You could put them on the ship, but that would be per ship stress events, which would be a little bit odd. You could put them in the universe, but that would be like universal stress events, and everyone chooses from the same giant bank, which is also odd. You could put them on the individual, but how would the individual keep track of stress events? I mean, that would make the most sense in the long run, I suppose. You could put them on the species, or you could put them on the gender. I think species is probably the best choice. So let's go up to species, down to species. Here we are, species. That's skin mesh variant. We want the actual species. There we are. So this species object has a lot of stuff already in it, but there's no difficulty with us adding in another one. Public stress events stress events. And we're going to need to make this as part of our stress dot. Is it stress dot? It's rules and events. That's right. There we go. Tooltip, stress event for the species. So now, when we stress out, we want to get a random stress event from the species. Well, let's go ahead and build a random stress event first, shall we? Right now, we're just going to put this into our prefabs list. In the long run, it's going to have to be in our resources stack so that we can load mods and stuff. Stress events. There we go. And then we're going to want to have our character have a link to that. So that would be human alpha species, stress events, and basic break event. There we go. That looks good. All right. And now we need to actually call that and put it onto our ship when we stress out. To do that, we're going to want to pop over to the avatar. I think it's the social brain is what we actually want here. Of course, there's no, I'm not in the scripts. Social brain. Because I think that the social brain is what has the stress outs, as I recall. Day pass, stress relief, stress break, here it is. So this is a scenario event. And we have been trying to use scenario events, but you know what? We really don't want to use them. We really want to use stress events. So I already built part of this and then screwed it up and made it so that it didn't make any sense. Great. So what we're going to need to get here is a, well, a scenario event is just a small little tool for keeping track of exactly who broke what. We'll keep it in for now. But for now, we're going to want to load up a specific stress event. So let's fetch ourselves a stress event. Stress event. Got to include that using rules and events. So down here, we're going to say stress event equals species dot stress events. So we're really going to want to, we have all of these stress events, and which one we choose is going to want to be weighted based on our current stress level. But for now, we're going to go ahead and just grab a random stress event. So to do, make this weighted by stress event suggested stress levels. Random.range 0, comma species.stressEvents.length, account length. Should probably be count. Now the reason I'm making it a list rather than an array is so that modders can easily add in stress events. These are arrays. Maybe I'll make them into lists later, but modders are much less likely to want to add in additional genders or hobbies or phenotypes because those are things you do when you're creating a species rather than things you do when you are modifying a species. And if they really do want to modify it, it's not that hard to create a new array and put it in. It's just a matter of ease of use. So, oh, we got two things named event, don't we? So this one will be stress event. And then we can say se.run. So in order for us to actually get the rest of these values, We can't. We're going to want to tell the stress event. We have to figure out how to make this have our characters say something. So we're going to pass this into the stress event, and the stress event is going to have the ability to run with a social brain. Where is the social brain? Is it in Avatar? Okay. Activist, or what do you call it? Originator, or so whatever, or something like that. That's fine. So when we have this originator, we can return our that object that we wanted, which was here it is, scenario event. So scenario event ev equals new scenario event. We want a cause, which is originator, and a target. Now this is temporary, so the target is not something that actually exists at the moment. For a variety of reasons, it's a little difficult. We're in a rough position to make this work, so we're just going to fetch it. We're going to go ahead and say temp and ship component. Let's fetch the rule for ship component. Ship component target equals get component common rule dot ship component target return Eve. There we are. So down here in the rule base, sorry, in the, where is it? Social brain. So we've got all this stuff right here, and it's going to go away because we don't need it anymore. But we do need this part, which we will put right here. And to be honest, we want this stuff down below. Stress event time. Grab the stress event, run the stress event, and then return that event. And in theory, this should be identical to the way we had it an hour ago, except for now it can be expanded into a lot of different sorts of functions. We don't just have to break something. Grind. I expect to have some bugs here, we'll see. Taking your time with this compilation. There we are, thank you. Well, we shall see in a minute whether this worked. Boom. All right, so we got a bunch of nothing. What happened? Stress event, basic break event is running. Rule.run. Rule base, rule in script, rule.run. Oh, I must have an empty rule. I do have an empty rule. That was just me being stupid, guys. Sorry about that. I'll go ahead and have our option here. Oh, our response option doesn't actually have an option attached to it just yet, so we'll go ahead and stick one on. Scripts, rule system, option rule, boom. The common rule can go away, and we're going to put it on a child object, so just call that underscore and drop the common rule on it. And this will be what happens when we actually get this to work. So first off, we do not need an originator for any of these, so delete this. But what we're going to want is to have this common rule tell our option repair rule to repair that ship, the ship object that it's chosen. So, or break it rather. So we say you break your ship component, and then we say you fix your ship component. See? Pretty straightforward, right? But in order to do that, we need this guy to be you find a based on a cached rule with this guy. Boom. Like so. And then run on select, that's obviously going to be this guy. We could also put that here, but it would be difficult for us to figure out exactly what was happening. Keep it simple for now. We can polish it later. As long as it's super simple, then we don't have any problems in replacing it later. When you're not sure exactly what you're going to be doing, definitely include the idea that you'll be refactoring, because if you don't refactor, that means that you are lying to yourself. All right. Boom. God damn it. All right, so here we go. Break event is running load ship component into local cache, currently ignoring econ. Yeah, so I actually forgot a basic thing here, which was stupid of me. This is just me being stupid. These actually have to be implemented. We have to bring them into the world in order for this to work. Otherwise, we would have to come up with some other options. So se equals stress event dot instantiate se, and then we'll put it inside of ourself. So transform and false. False works, right? Yeah. Because loading that stuff up into the permanent prefab is dumb. Boom. Okay, so you still broke. So here we go. Load ship component into local cache, currently ignoring local values. Breaking ship component stub, physically broken on stockpile set to true. Breaking ship component stub. Oh yeah, that's right. So we broke the stockpile and we colored the mesh, and then here, rule.run. For each optional rule and response options, rule.run. Is there, did I make this so that this rule doesn't? No, I forgot to add it in. Gotta wire shit up, guys. If you don't wire shit up, guess what? It doesn't work. Come on. All right, so it broke. We didn't have any errors, and it broke. This is not the same thing. This is a different error right now. But you can see that we have a bunch of darkened airlocks. So the airlocks got hit particularly hard today, along with this rear ion drive here. So those things all broke. But you notice that the characters didn't have anything to say. To be honest, I'm not sure why that is. No, that's not the right place. What's redo? Is it Control Y? Yeah, that's fine. What we're looking for is the social brain, right? Yeah, this is it. Okay, so this is what happens here. It says, Avatar, I broke the blah. I'm sorry. Well, let's go ahead and copy this. And then we'll go ahead and redo the deleting. I have a feeling that our say is still in its temporary phase, and we haven't finalized it to actually saying anything useful. I think we overrode it to just do some spam so that we could test our pop-ups. We'll know that for sure in a moment. Yep. So now it is exactly the way it was before, but what we're going to do is we're going to replace these with the options. Now, in order to do that, the options have to have a text associated with them that we can use to describe them. So that's not too bad. We'll go over to the option rule, and we will have public string description. That's fine. Equals, hey, I have an idea. All right, there we go. So what we've got is a situation where previously the social brain was responsible for saying, hey, I broke the blah. What we actually want to have that be is here in the individual rules themselves. Now, the rules do have an issue where they don't seem to understand who their fundamental stress event executor is. And that's a little bit rough because they might not be part of a stress event. They might be part of a, they might be standalone or part of something else. So in the end, I guess they do need an originator. God damn it. Oh, no, we're not going to do it that way, are we? That would be a dumb way to do it. No, I guess it is. There's no way around it. And that means that we are going to have to override it with a common rule. We got our run. We are going to need to call our base run. And our stress event does not have a run, so that should work. Oh, that's not what I meant. I meant the rule event. Option rule does not. It does have a run. Okay, so it doesn't actually need one. There we go. All right. So now what we're going to do is here in the common rule, we're going to add in a simple say command. Public void say string comment. And that's going to be originator.say. Originator.say. Why can't I say originator.say? Social brain not have a say? Social brain probably doesn't have a say. Let's give it one. Public virtual void say string text. Avatar.say. No, avatar.say text. Just a shortcut, and we'll go over here again and put that in. There we are. Originator.say comment. Now, this doesn't have the ability to say something that is more complex. So we've got the situation where our social brain can now say something, but if we pop over to avatar.say, you can see that it says string dialog, and then it does this chat controller.say thing, where the chat controller takes just arbitrary crap. If you take a look, the chat controller has also just it's not done yet. So we need to start to finish up some of these chat controller. We need to finish this chat controller chain. Now that we've got something to say, we need to take it from being theoretically useful to being actually useful. Yay. So to do that, we're going to want to have this here have two texts, string text and string keyword equals null. And let's say text and keyword, and then down here we're also going to have string text and string keyword equals null. And here you can see how we say cb.say text cb blah blah. Obviously, this is going to be if, you can just say cb.say text keyword. Now, the difficulty with this is that it will start up a new chat block for every single time we ever want to say anything with that given character. So what we're going to want to have is a list of our chat blocks. Live chat blocks. Tooltip filled automatically. So when we create our chat block, we're going to want to sign up. We're going to add that chat block to our list. So live chat blocks dot add cb, and we're going to sign up for the chat blocks on destroy. Hey, look, there's no on destroy here, so we need to add one. Let's go over to the chat block and add an on destroy. So this is a little bit stupid in some ways because on destroy with a capital O is reserved and on destroy with a lowercase o is not. And generally you want to avoid doing that, but I honestly just don't care. Is it on destroy or on destroyed now that I'm thinking about it? Unity on destroy. It is just on destroy, okay. That simple little system should allow us to sign up for the chat blocks on destroy and make that a refresh live chat blocks. And then down here we'll say public void refresh live chat blocks int for int a equals 0, a is less than live chat blocks dot count a plus plus. If live chat block, you know what we can do? We can say while live chat blocks dot contains null, live chat blocks dot remove all. Can I do that? Remove at predicate. I don't actually know. I think that might be just annoying. We'll just do remove null. Exciting stuff, I'm sure. As all of you can agree, this is what game dev is. I should be zoomed in. I'm sorry, guys. You've been looking at teeny tiny text the whole time. Both of you. So what we need to do here in live say is we need to track down a chat block that is related to our avatar. So we'll go ahead and put in a public void chat block fetch chat block fetch live block social brain avatar. We'll go through all of it for each chat block in live chat blocks. If block.chatterer equals avatar, why is it with a capital A? That's not supposed to have a capital A. So if our chatterer equals avatar, then return the block. Otherwise, return null. So what that'll do is it'll fetch us a block if it exists. So chat block CB equals fetch live chat block. There we are. If not CB, then there we go. All right, so that should allow us. Why is this showing an error? Okay, tell me what I spelled wrong. Oh, I put a void in front of it. Yeah, that'll happen when you're an idiot. So chat block does not contain on destroy. It damn well does. It's right there. You need to do some recomputations there. No overload for run. Takes 1 argument. That's fine. We will pass it our avatar. There we are. And same thing here. There we go. That will allow us to do all this work. Whew, that was obnoxious. We're not quite done yet, though. So what we've just done is we made our chat block able to take commands to chat with anybody, and if they exist already on the chat screen, they'll just keep adding to their list. But we haven't actually hooked up the code so that the avatars can actually chat like that. Right now they're stuck chatting really dumb, so we're going to fix that. String text, string keyword, and avatar.say text keyword. And then we're going to go over into avatar.say and dialog string keyword, controller.say keyword. There we are. That wasn't too hard, was it? We still have to set up the rule base to allow us to actually say, as a common rule that we want, to actually say something. So here you can see say string comment, originator say comment. We're going to need 2 versions of that. String comment and string keyword, I guess. I guess it should just be 1 version. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the best way to do this for the sake of people building this stuff. But it should be okay to make it like this. Alright. Oh wait, we don't need to have a keyword here because this doesn't have any capability to be a keyword. Right, that's good. So that should work. However, the option rules do create that situation. And what happens is that our stress event will actually, here in the rules, if the rule is processing, we're going to want to say that. So we're going to go ahead and say, this is not a for each. For int a equals 0, a is less than response options dot count a plus plus, and then we say option rule equals response options a. Need to put another thing here. There we go. Run rule originator rule.processing. In this case, what we're going to want to do is say something. We're going to want to say, if this is a valid option, then have our originator say the rule.description, comma, the number. So a.toString. There you go. And obviously the stress event we're going to want to be able to choose, and that means that we're going to put in a public virtual void choose string choice number. We say int index equals int.parse choice number. And it'll barf terminally if it's wrong, so let's not do it like that. Instead, we're going to go ahead and say int.tryparse choice number, comma, out index. We say, if not, tryparse. This way it won't terminally barf, it'll just throw a warning. Log warning. Tried to choose event option choice number, but it's not an integer. And then here we will say, if index is less than 0 or index is greater than or equal to response options.count. I'll put in a return here. Return. Same deal here. Tried to choose event option index, but it's not within index limits. Otherwise, we'll want to execute that rule. So rule response options index dot select, and then kill ourselves. Right, how exciting is that? So with that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at how that ends up looking. Ooh, we got all sorts of errors. So debug talk, I like banana. Banana bread's my favorite. Say should take a default. Keyword equals null. Yes, rsay should also say. Oh, it's already keyword equals null. Null. All right. Well, I think I've wired everything up, but you can never tell until you hit play. Let's go ahead and hit play and find out. Grind, grind, grind. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 10. There you are. Hey, I have an idea. So that worked, but we forgot to tell our option here, not our option, but our basic event, to say that we broke something. So what we're going to want to do is put in a line to say that we broke something. Unfortunately, we currently don't have a system to say something and then attach our object to it, our selected object. So we're going to go ahead and build one. Our common rule needs a new kind of say, public, or we can go ahead and use a parser. So we're going to go ahead and use a parser here. I don't want to have a scripting language, but I'm okay inserting values. So comment dot replace old char, new char as a character. I want strings. Yeah. So we'll call this ship component with ship component target dot name. If ship component target, then comment equals comment dot replace blah. Perfect. So now what we can do is we can tell this rule to say something. Common rule, say, comment, whoa, that was weird. It just took a while. Huh. Hey, I broke the ship component. Sorry. Apply. Hit play. Try it out. Grind, grind, grind. 9, 10. Hey, I broke the propellant tank. Clone, sorry. Hey, I have an idea. Okay, so what we can do now is when we say, hey, I have an idea, we can actually go ahead and have this be something better for us. Like, hey, how about if I dismantle ship component to fix it? Now this doesn't have that that same string editor, so we're going to make that into something we can just call public string final string string that's fine. Does the keyword replacement in strings. And here we say comment equals final string, comment. If ship component target, then we can just call this comment. Well, I just did that. I didn't need to, did I? Because stress event, right now we what am I talking about? This is completely unnecessary, you idiot. Don't make things more complicated than they have to be. So the reason that I was removing that is so I could call it separately in stress event. But stress event can just call the rules say event. It doesn't have to, you know, not. So over in our options here, we have originator.say rule.description a2string. Well, rule.say rule.description comma a2string. You can see that now I do need the ability for the rule to be able to say something with a keyword attached. So string keyword equals null. The only problem is I think that that's going to barf a little bit. Because I don't believe that Unity events understand the concept of leaving something null, leaving it with a default value. I think it just breaks. Yeah, you see how it says missing command say? So what we're going to do is grab this text and then change this over into the new say function, which takes 2 arguments. Oh my gosh, it cannot take 2 arguments. I forgot about that. I'm sorry. We do need to have 2 of these bastards. Public void keyword say, string comment, string keyword equals null. Keyword say, comment, null. We'll call this an option say, because it's always going to be an option. Unity events can't pass 2 args or leave an arg as default value. You back now? You still going to say that it's missing even though it's right there? Oh, I didn't. I got to spell it right. Yep. Over here in our stress event, we'll go ahead and make this into option say. Well, you should have this ability. Oh, there, it's back. Good. Let's try this. Hit play. Grind, grind, grind. 4, 5, 7, 9. Bang. Hey, I broke the water tank clone. Sorry. Hey, I have an idea. I forgot to hit save, didn't I? I'm super smart. Save your work. 5, 6, 8, 9, bang. Hey, I broke the HAB nuclear reactor clone. How about if I dismantle the heavy ion thruster clone to fix it? Hey, I broke the maneuvering jet clone. How about if I dismantle the HAB-X junction to fix it? How about if I dismantle the utility arm to fix it? How about if I dismantle the radio dish to fix it? Now, amusingly, by the time that we get here, some of these objects might be broken, but I actually think that might be better. Like, it just kind of, yeah, that thing, the other thing that just broke, we can scrap that, and it's already broken. Win-win. I kind of like that. And then we can go ahead and say, okay. And it would say Bob Zorro chose, and then it doesn't understand how to connect that all the way back to the event. So when we go over and say that Bob Zorro chose something, you can see that it didn't actually pop in with a keyword. That's not great. So it should have popped in with the keyword of 0. Did 0.toString become... well, we'll deal with that in a minute. What we're going to want to do is have that Bob chose turn into an event. So here you can see we have this chat block where it says option chosen keyword, option chosen.invoke keyword. At the moment, we don't have any concept of how to connect this all the way back to the stress event that is giving us trouble. But we can, because what we can do is we can tell whoever the chatterer is that they chose something. So we can say chatterer.chose, the option chosen string keyword. And we don't need this option chosen.invoke. It doesn't make any sense anymore. Because this is, well, we don't, I guess it's, yeah, I think the option chosen.invoke is no longer necessary. And here in our social brain, we need a new option chosen function. Public virtual void option chosen. String keyword. debug.log name plus chose plus keyword. And then what we're going to do is stress event se equals get component in children stress event, because it's one of our children. And then we can say se dot, well, if not se, yeah, that's what I wanted to type. Debug.log warning name plus tried to choose when there's no event child to choose from. Return. Otherwise, we will want to se.choose and then the keyword. Let's go ahead and put in, let's try it. Let's try it. Oh, invoke. No, that's fine. Oh, it's just... Uh-oh, guys, my brain is starting to fade. I programmed all day today, and now I'm at home programming, and it's clear that my brain is sucking at the dregs of its functionality here. Let's see if I can get this done before I lose the ability to do stuff. How about if I dismantle the Hab bathroom clone to fix it? How about if I dismantle the nuclear reactor to fix it? Yes. Okay, so there's something wrong with these events. They're not correctly listing their integer values. So this is... How about if I dismantle clone bathroom to fix it? This button should choose a keyword, and the keyword is theoretically here on the chat box. Keyword empty. Are we not setting the keyword when we set up the chat box? Is that what's going on? Because I don't think I ever had to test that. This is the first time it's mattered. So if we go over to our avatar and we go down to say, and we look down here, it's controller.say, that's fine. Go there. Live.livesay, go there. Here it is. cb.say text keyword. Go to declaration. Deal that keyword equals keyword. So somewhere along the line here, this is not getting propagated. So let's put in some debug.lines. Debug.log chat block live say keyword keyword. And then up here in our stress event, here it is, we're going to go ahead and say debug.log stress event keyword and then a toString. I'll feel dumb if this is something like a toString is just empty and that's why it's causing this problem. I'm gonna grab some water, be right back. Ouch! Oh, that really hurt. Okay, so if we take a look here, hit pause, and then scroll up, we should have it saying that stress event keyword 0. So it's definitely passing 0 out. Let's go into the rule.options say and see whether that's the problem. Keyword originator.say. So debug.log common rule say keyword. All right. Wouch. And by the way, I don't get any comments these days. I used to get tons. But if something about this is not as interesting to you as it used to be, let me know so I can change my method and get a few people to chime in when they see something interesting. It could also just be that I'm coding a lot more. If you have any advice, feel free to tell me. CROption.say works. Because I have the same number of viewers, more or less, but I don't have the same number of commenters. BBS Computer says, this is really cool, please continue. It keeps me focused, so I'll continue even if there's no comments, but I do like to hear from people. BBS Computer says, is it on GitHub? I do plan to make it open source, but it's nowhere near complete or usable, so no, it's not on GitHub. Don't worry, though, if you're still around in 2 years or whenever, it'll definitely be an open release. At least the code will. So that's going to be a challenge just because it's going to take forever to get far enough that it's usable. However, the focus here is that it should be something that is moddable. So the idea is you might go and grab the Unity program and then grab the project, and you can load the whole project up in Unity rather than, say, just the code. And then you can pop in any sort of content you want and mod it to do whatever you need, which is the focus. Well, this is why I'm setting it up like this, is because it's easier for modders. However, that said, we have a problem where this is not working. So debug.log, chat controller, say plus keyword. At some point, this 0 vanishes. And now I'm just kind of wandering through. On My Flow says, I used to like the modeling a lot. You used to? I modeled a lot last time, and the time before that. Is it just because you don't like the hour or two I put in coding and then go to modeling? You're gone by then, or how is it? Or is the modeling has just gone downhill? Which seems pretty likely. Because that's interesting stuff. All right, so we've got 2 lines that need to be deleted. This guy. Oh dear. The problem might simply be that our system has desynced. All right, well, let's go ahead and pop on over into the cb.say. You know, dl.keyword equals keyword. I bet this is it. So when we hit next, are we passing the keyword properly? I bet we're not. Next. There it is, right there, keyword. Debug.log, cb next. And then upcoming lines, 0.keyword. There we are. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, bang. Hey, I broke the maneuvering, blah, 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 blah. Okay. CB next, 0. Okay, so even here, it's actually working. But if we take a look at these values, this chat box option does not have 0 as the keyword. It has blank. Oh, by the way, on my flow, I will be doing a lot of modeling. In fact, I did a lot of modeling. Off screen, I did about 8 hours of modeling. This game requires a lot of stuff, and I'll have to do it. I have to do it all, but it's not very much fun when you can't put it into the game. So you know how it is. So immediately say keyword content size fitter get component enabled equals true, keyword equals null, or keyword.length equals 0. Then instantiate else. So I'm an idiot. If you haven't been watching, you may want to look over for this wonderful bug I've found, where I use the same line twice because I cut and pasted lazily. And this is actually not supposed to be... Oh, there it is. So this is the line that's screwing it up. And we never actually tell it what the keyword is. After all of that mess, we finally come down to it, and it's the very last step in the chain that we screwed up. Come on. Can you believe it? That's literally the last step. Oh well. I asked you to look over there because it was just duplicate text and it was a copy-paste bug. But I guess now thinking back, it probably wasn't that exciting. I just got excited because I finally figured it out and I've been spending the past 20 minutes trying to do it. All right, so here we can say something like, how about if I dismantle the utility arm to fix it? If I hit OK, in theory, one of these utility arms should turn black. Yeah, you see that, guys? It works. Excellent. Oh my gosh. Our event system, it's working. It's not completely done yet because what we need to do is when the event actually resolves, we want those options to go away, and we haven't gotten that far yet. But there are a couple of things we can do to have that happen. One is that we can tell the, when we select something from the stress event here, we can just tell the chat controller to unchoose, you know, that character, to delete all their text. So to do that, what we're going to do is down here, we're going to say chat controller dot clear, and then pass them the avatar name, which is or the avatar itself, which is the... I don't think we actually store it. We don't store it. Public social brain originator. This dot originator equals originator. And down here, originator. And clear is going to be a relatively easy setup. So public static void clear social brain avatar. For each chat block, gotta have parenthesis there, block in live.blocks, live chat blocks, if block.contains, if block.chatterer equals avatar, destroy block.gameObject. And that should delete the dialogue for that character. Now I'm doing it before we do this response options select, because it may be that the response option has more to say, and I want that to still show up. But we want to clear the lines that came before because they're no longer valid, and they're offering options that you can no longer select. Because if there's 4 options, you're only allowed to select one of those options. 8, 9, 10. There we are. How about if I dismantle the fuel cell to fix it? All right. Boom. It's gone. How about if I dismantle the... So I broke the propellant tank. Okay, if we take a look at the scene here, because the camera isn't implemented properly just yet. We're looking at this propellant tank, and it looks pretty alive to me. So what is she talking about? Oh, it's the propellant tanks are the little ones. The fuel cells, the hab rooms. So we've got these hab rooms, they're broken. That's going to be really obvious. So you see how these are all blacked out, these hab rooms? What we're going to do, you might not be able to see because all the friggin' gizmos are too big. There we are. It's all dark. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on OK. And it's fixed. So this is a functional event, everybody. This is us ready to start to sprint forward with this concept. Obviously, there's still a lot of coding to do, but now it's implementation details rather than fundamental details. Now, that said, I may have to refactor all of this in the long run, but we'll leave that for later, and I'll probably do it off camera. The fact that we now have a system which allows us to set up these objects is great. There are some details that need to be worked out, though. For example, I would like it so that when you mouse over the options, it highlights the thing that it's talking about, but that might be quite hard. We'll have to think about how to do that, because right now it just says like mechanical arm, and it doesn't tell you which one. So we'll have to think about that. That said, my brain is leaking out of my ears. I was thinking about doing some 3D modeling, but my brain is gone, so we're not going to. I'm quite happy with the progress we made in terms of coding, and we will probably make some more progress on Sunday with other things. I'm going to install the new version of Unity and see whether I can get this game running on it, and that will hopefully have some fun particle stuff we can do. But we probably won't do that on camera, so there's no we. It's me. I'll do the particle stuff, and you guys don't get to see any of it. Oh well. So I'm done. I'll stay in chat for another minute or two, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, hopefully I'll see you on Sunday, and maybe on Sunday I'll have a little bit more of a vivacious stream to catch your attention.